Hello, welcome to Priory Paddock, our award-winning woodland copse conservation area. At the moment it feels less like early June and very much more like late September. We had a long, cold, very dry spring, lots of sunshine, but the general temperature was cold. There was a lot of wind, and the dryness in particular affected the paddock, and everything was held back. And then 2 or 3 weeks ago it started raining, and there's been an explosion of growth here in the paddock since. All around you can see plants that are anything from 4 to 5 feet tall. The grasses have shot up in particular, but there are flowers along the side. There are flowers along the side of the wall, flowering plants along the side of the wall, which are certainly 3 or 4 feet high. And unfortunately, the combination of virulent growth and high winds has meant that in many cases the plants are now looking, and have been, particularly where the wind could get in between the plants and the wall, the plants have been pushed down and are looking particularly sad at the moment. Amongst the plants that are surviving, as it were, the elder bushes are now in flower, covered in creamy blossom, although the blossom is being blown off as I speak. If the flowers have a chance to set, and at the moment the weather is so cold that there aren't many insects around. If the flowers do set, they will produce heads of purple berries in the autumn, which are very, very popular with blackbirds and thrushes, and used to be used by country people to make a substitute, which I believe was very efficacious. The only other blossom that I can still see on the trees are a few flowers left on the Guelder rose bushes. There's 3 Guelder rose bushes, paddock, and they have heads of flowers, white flowers, which look very much like lace hydrangea, in that round the rim of the umbel, the umbrella shape of the flowering head, round the outside there's a ring of quite large petalled flowers, but the ones in the centre are very small indeed. And that has, in the autumn, where the flowers have set, there is there. I can see behind me here a hawthorn bush, and the May blossom has all gone from the hawthorn bush, but very many of the flowers set this year, and it looks as though there's going to be a very, very good crop of red haw berries, again beloved of the blackbirds and thrushes in the autumn. Looking around the lower parts of the paddock, there's a lot of tall grass now, which is coming into difficult to tell apart, but at this time of the year, when they are flowering, it is possible to see differences between them, because some of the flowering heads, the individual flowers are tiny, but the flower heads have quite, in many cases, different arrays. And the most noticeable, the most distinctive here is the thing called the cock's foot, which has sprays of little floret heads, which, if you look at them in silhouette, look very much like the imprint of a cock's foot in mud in the farmyard. There are also tall tassely flowers with stems with like knees every so far up the stem, looking like very undernourished bamboo. And this is couch grass, or twitch, the curse of every gardener in the village. The spring flowers that we had here in the paddock have now all been overtaken. By this spurt of early summer growth, and similarly the flowers that can be seen are those, in many cases, which will carry on flowering all through the summer. An obvious example are the large stands of buttercup to be seen all around the lower part of the paddock. There are two sorts of buttercup here. The shorter of the buttercups is creeping buttercup, and it has rather coarse broad leaves which tend to be, in many cases, speckled. And as I say, it has 5-petaled, but the usual 5-petaled golden flowers that every child sticks under another child's chin to see whether they like butter. But we have another buttercup here as well, and this is meadow buttercup, and it's when it has the opportunity, it's taller. The flowering spikes are taller than the creeping buttercup, but the leaves are much more finely. The flowers and the stems look very similar, but the leaves are very, very finely divided indeed. They look distinctly undernourished compared to the creeping buttercup. One of the other yellow flowers to be found here, and now coming into its own all along the section between the main path and the wall, is the plant called bird's foot trefoil. At the moment it has heads, sprays, half a dozen or so small orangey yellow flowers, look a bit like pea flowers. They will set in the summer and ripen. The seed pods will ripen radially on these where the sprays are, with the result that the 5 brown pods look very much like a bird's foot, hence the name. It's a very useful plant from our point of view, as it's the food plant for the common blue butterfly. Along the side of the wall I can see the bright blue flowers of, it looks like forget-me-not, but much bigger, stronger, sturdier plant with bristly stems and much larger leaves. And here I can also see, near the interpretation board, a clump of purple comfrey. And I can see a bumblebee. Despite the inclement weather, I can see a bumblebee. This is a very interesting bumblebee. It's a tree bumblebee. Now tree bumblebees have an orange section behind the head, and then a black midriff and a white tail. And these were first recorded in Britain. I think it's probably they're probably an example of climate change. Recorded in the south of England in about 25 years ago, about 2001, I think, in Hampshire, and they had reached Cumbria by 2010, and they've been here for the last couple of years. Amongst the other flowers that I can see coming up, walking up the drive here, are ox-eye daisies. Those are just coming into flower, and yellow flag irises. there's been quite a good show of yellow flowers, particularly in the area, particularly around the pond. For some reason last year, probably connected with the climate, we had hardly any flowers on the flags last year, but we're doing well this year. We've also, near the coronation bench, got a most impressive plant. This is I think a biennial, and it's been growing steadily over the last couple of years, and it's now about, I would think, nearly 5 feet high, and just beginning to look as though it's forming flower buds. We've also got cranesbill, meadow cranesbill, with pale blue flowers, and yes, our bumblebee has followed us up and is feeding busily on the meadow cranesbill. There are some pale pink flowers, very curious flowers, look like Medusa's head. There's a tall, thin green stalk with what looks like a bunch of dark red onions sitting on the top of the head, and out of each of these there's a pink flower growing, and this is rosy garlic, very curious looking plant. There are pink flowers here and some white ones as well. These would be very popular with the butterflies if there were any butterflies about. And this is a red valerian, and we've got white comfrey here as well. Well, the rest of the paddock is just growing furiously. I think there will be some more flowers to be seen, but just about at the moment that's just about what I can see. Oh, I can see some red campion, some pink red campion flowers as well. Well, that's what I can see. Have a look yourself, enjoy your visit, and if you come in a month, I'm sure you'll see some change, and hopefully better weather. Cheerio.